I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, so many people have been asking me, please do the chart of Julian Assange. And here I am fulfilling your request because he is in the news. Why? He's just been arrested. But let me give you a little backtracking, a little history on who he is in case you don't know. If you remember hearing about the WikkiLeaks, he's the one that revealed all of the government secrets way back in 2010. So looking at him, realize that he is a genius. He's a mathematician, he's a physicist, and of course, he is a computer programmer because he knows how to get in to these computers. And what he did was in November of 2010, he went in and leaked out 25,000 secrets, documents of the United States government. And this enraged the United States government. But the public loved it. Why? Because nobody likes to be lied to. And the government has suppressed so much information. And here is somebody showing you just how corrupt the government is. So people are like, finally, the truth is coming out. Somebody had the courage, the guts to get it out there. But at the same time, on the other side of the coin, maybe some of this is secret information that needs to be secret. Maybe the government needs to, just to protect the country in terms of other countries, this knowledge may protect the United States. But on the other flip side, of course, people want to know the truth. And he did this. This is exactly what he did. But right after the time that he leaked out all of this information, it was in August of 2010 that the Swedish government posted a warrant for his arrest for rape and molestation charges. So funny how this charge came right after he's telling the truth. Are they making this up in order to take him out of action? We don't know. But I will say this. His chart gives some major clues to this when we start to look at this. So we want to know the truth about him. It was, though, by December of 2010 that he, while he was in London, took the asylum in the Ecuadorian government when he went to their embassy, where he has spent 7 years in asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy. Imagine that. But come to find out now, at this point in time, the Ecuadorian government revoked his asylum there. And at that time, which is actually April 11th, 2019, that they withdrew his asylum there and they arrested him on that day in London. And now the Swedish authorities are wanting to come back with the charges. Not for rape, but for molestation. So we have a lot to look at with this man's chart. What an interesting chart this must be. So let's see where he's headed and what the truth is really about him. But, he's served a good purpose, but at the same time, we don't know what this is truly all about. So let me put up Julian Assange chart, which, putting it up here, I have him born July 3rd, 1971. 3 p.m. is the birth time that I have in Townsville, Australia. And looking at his chart, this makes his ascendant at 8 degrees of Scorpio. Now remember, Scorpio is a very intense sign, and those with this ascendant are very passionate about what they do, everything in life. But one thing that I think is so important to realize, he has Neptune exactly on his ascendant degree. Imagine Neptune, the planet that deals with deceit, denial, clouded perception, and it is also called the Great Dissolver. So it dissolves things. This is so appropriate, I think, that Neptune is right on his ascendant. And I want you to note that Neptune is conjunct Jupiter there. When Neptune and Jupiter are together, Jupiter magnifies whatever it is next to. So this expands this perception of him possibly bringing out the truth. But is it really the truth? Well, yes. Obviously, some of this paperwork is the truth, but there's something about him that is not truthful. It's true. There is. I know that by Neptune being right on the ascendant with Jupiter, but then again, many people could think Neptune Jupiter is very, very spiritual. And it is. But it can be very, very delusional at the same time. And there's a fine line between the spirituality. And let me just say this. Looking at his chart, I don't think this goes the spiritual way. I think there is a lot of deluded perceptions within him because, well, we're going to look at his 8th house, but before we go there, notice that Neptune is almost exactly opposed his natal Saturn. Now, I've often said that Neptune is deception, deceit, denial, illusions, and Saturn is reality. So when you put those together, either conjunct or opposed, you're going to find that this is the realization of dissolving the deceit, the illusion, because Saturn's reality. So what we're looking at is he is bringing the truth and reality. And many of the things that he did really did set the tone and the pace for some of the events that transpired during the U.S. elections in terms of Clinton's, a lot of her emails and things of that were exposed. And of course, there's going to be some of the things probably with Trump as well, because what we're seeing is what's really happening underneath the facade of the government. And he's bringing things to light. That I will say. Another thing is he has a really, really strong desire and courage, extremely courageous, but incredibly intelligent. Why? Because Mars is exalted in Capricorn with Rahu in the 3rd house. What is the 3rd house? I find that whenever we have Rahu in the 3rd house, Rahu can represent machinery, the future, computers, technology. And in the 3rd house, this deals with communications. And with Mars there, bam, we have a powerful, powerful revelation of communications. And he is extraordinarily courageous to have brought this out. What guts this must have taken, because he had to know the consequences. And this has really pretty much destroyed his life. 7 years in an embassy, never going anywhere, and always being threatened to be under arrest. He has to know where he's headed. You know, this is not a happy life, but he felt so compelled to bring the truth out. And he did. This was remarkably courageous. And that's how I see exalted Mars in Capricorn, with Rahu magnifying it all the more in the third house of communications. Wow, he brought it all out. And he was bound and determined to do so. He forfeited and sacrificed everything in his life for this. That's admirable, I must say. But talking about these rape charges, talking about what has been, that came out, is that true? Was that fabricated? You know, you are going to believe what you want to believe. I know that. Everyone does. Everyone, whatever they want to believe, they just take that into account, disregarding everything else that is a possibility. But I do kind of think those rape charges are real, or the molestation. Why? Because of his 8th house. And when you look at his 8th house, he has Venus with the sun, and actually Venus is combust the sun, meaning it's too close to the sun, so therefore what Venus is all about is burnt. It's weakened tremendously. And Venus does rule his 7th house of relationships, and going to the 8th house, combust. 8th house is the most difficult house of the chart. And furthermore, the 8th house is the house of scandals, disgrace, and humiliation. And to have the sun in the 8th house, and even with Venus, means he is disgraced and humiliated. Well, you might say, well, yeah, because of all these lies. But I don't really think so. So he did some great service to expose and had the courage to bring the truth out. But I think he is a little bit of a pervert by this 8th house. And that doesn't mean when people have planets in the 8th house that they're always about this. But you know, it is Venus. And Venus deals with love. And I wouldn't say this unless Venus ruled the 12th house. You see, the 12th house is the house of secrets. And Venus is the planet of love in relationships. And it's all messed up in his chart. And it's conjunct and combust the sun in the 8th house, which the 8th house is the house that deals with perverse sexuality. So the planet Venus, ruler of the 12th of secrets in the 8th, gives me a clue that this may be, it could be true. That's what I'm seeing from this. And you know that when I'm looking at whether or not somebody's telling the truth or not, I look to the planet that rules the 2nd house, because the 2nd house is our speech, what we say. And if that planet is negatively aspected, the ruler of the 2nd, then that could give the rhyme and reason whether or not they're telling the truth. And I have to say, with Jupiter ruling the 2nd house, the fact that it's very close to Neptune could be that he's not totally honest about these escapades that happened in Sweden. Okay, so that's my take on it in analyzing the chart, being objective. I know everybody wants to think he's saintly because of the fact of the courageous act of what he did. But a little bit further down the road, just to exemplify how this chart reveals, because there are some other birth times possibly in everyone, any single time that they don't like what I'm saying, they go, oh, she's got the wrong birth time. No, this has to be the right birth time. Why? Because look at what planet rules his 10th house. The 10th house is the career, your social standing, your reputation to the world. It's the sun that rules the 10th. The sun rules Leo. And that sun going to the 8th house of scandals, disgrace, and humiliation. Consider this. It is the government, 10th house, his career, 10th house, that he is known for these massive scandals. So the ruler of the 10th in the 8th house of scandals, plus it's with Venus, ruler of the 12th of secrets, is exactly what is happening to him currently. And as soon as Rahu and Ketu have transited in the month of March into Ketu is in Sagittarius, but Rahu is in Gemini. So therefore the eclipses are happening wherever Rahu and Ketu are in his 8th and 2nd house. So all of the secrets, all the scandals are being revealed as soon as the nodal axes changed. And Rahu is approaching the Sun and his Venus. And furthermore, looking at this, if you will notice that Rahu, Mars are going to come together in the months of May and June, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Mars, Rahu in his 8th house. These scandals, everything is really heading the roof. And I know that these months of May and June are going to be extreme. Maybe he's going to leak some more things out that is going to really flavor and color the world and the United States. The United States is coming under enormous, enormous pressure because here are where these planets of the United States are going to be activated. The birth chart of the United States has 4 planets in Gemini. And Julian has his Venus Sun in Gemini, and that's where the Mars Rahu are going. So watch how things unfold for him, not in a good way, over the course of May and June. This is his chart. Now, going to his moon. The moon is in the 12th house. This is probably his asylum in foreign countries. I mean, he was born in Australia. Here he is in London, all over the world. And the 12th house is foreign lands and countries. His natal moon is there. Plus, his moon being in the 12th house deals with so many secrets. So many secrets of things that even he may not be leaking out because it's too much for the world to handle. Now, the moon rules the 9th house of truth, but it goes to the 12th house of secrets. And I must say his moon is in the nakshatra Swati, which is a nakshatra that is known for its oratory skills and speaking and communications. So another thing is, let's go to his 9th house. Since the 9th house is the house of truth and beliefs, he has Mercury, Ketu in his 9th house in the sign of Cancer. Wow, that is powerful. So Mercury, by the way, being in the sign of Cancer, in the moon sign, does represent mental instability. But when you consider the fact that Mercury and Ketu being in Cancer, the moon rules Cancer, the dispositing planet to Mercury Ketu is the moon in the 12th house. So he's letting out the secrets, many secrets. But when it comes to the truth, the 9th house is the truth. But the ruler of the 9th, being the moon, goes to the 12th, which the truths about him may be covered up as well. Ironically, here is somebody that's bringing out the truth, but has so many cover-ups in his own life. Isn't that an irony? So I'm thinking where he's going, yes, he did a big favor for the world to expose things. But he is going to be quieted. Whether or not he's done a good thing or any of these things that he has done with his own personal life, they're going to come back to haunt him. And he's going to have to pay for those things. And yes, the governments are probably pleased to be able to quiet him. But everything is happening for a reason here. Everything. And I think one of the reasons that we can gain out of this is the irony in all of this. We want to glorify and glamorize him. But the facts are, he's not a saint. And he served a specific purpose, I do believe. But the way in which he did it, and the way in which he handled his own life, prevented the good that we all hoped would come out of this. So we're cheering for somebody to be able to bring the truth out. And then we see where he is being destroyed, and the people are going to hate those that are destroying him, thinking that they're the bad guys and he's the good guy. But there's more to this story. And yes, we all want the truth. Let's just hope the truth can prevail, even though it looks like he's going to be in a lot more trouble. And I think he's going to be probably put away. Or worse than that, the 8th house is endings. So we'll see where this goes, especially throughout the months of May and June. There may be something more violent that puts him to rest, quiets him. We'll see. So with that, I'd like to close. I hope you gained some insights on how to read a chart and what this is all about. So with that, I'd like to close, but if you would like to learn more about Vedic astrology, I have a university. Go to my university website, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. And if you would like to learn more about me or would like a reading, you can always go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. And if you would like transcripts of this, you can always go to our magazine, which is astrologicmagazine.com. Thank you.